recording goes on, and a new episode of Into the Nexus records in 3, 2, 1. Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Kyle Fergusson. Welcome back, Kyle.
It's good to be back, Garrett.
I almost called you Fergie again, just to, have a running gag from last week. Yep, that's how we feel about that.
Yep, just leave that hanging there.
Yeah.
This was my favorite Heroes of the Storm week in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I played with nothing but friends.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It was great, man. I've had my sister-in-law and brother-in-law since BlizzCon have gotten so into this game. And we sat down and played with them. You got to play with us quite a bit, too. We do sort of family nights once a week. And that on top of playing with the core guys and doing that team league and playing with my own chat, it was just so fresh. And getting to talk to my brother-in-law, who just hit Diamond for the first time. Congratulations, Zach. The game is beautiful to them. I really feel like we are the old vanilla fuddy-duddies a bit. And this is our Cataclysm. Not World of Warcraft expansions. Not actually an apocalypse.
That is a rough... maybe Pandaria? Because that was actually kind of universally praised after the fact, like in hindsight. Whereas Kata, we were all very excited for it, and then it came out.
But like Kata, there was no better time for people to join the game. And I agree with you there on Pandaria. By then, they'd sort of fixed their end game a little bit, and there was still that great leveling experience that Kata brought in. But now Pandaria fleshed out the other parts of it. I mean, hearing from people, particularly a Reddit post this week, too, that was basically like, are you guys having fun? Because I'm new to this game, and I started when basically the big patch hit, and this game is fantastic. Why y'all so grumpy? And it was combined with my brother-in-law's experience, it was really eye-opening just to hear that like this game is really inviting to a lot of new people right now. And while we may struggle battling thoughts of our old metas and old muscle memories, people are stoked on Heroes of the Storm.
That's interesting. I don't know any new players, so I haven't really had that experience. And while I have played with both your I guess they're both brother and sister-in-law, right? Because they're married. Yeah, I played with them both. And by the way, I hope they hear this. They are the highlight of my Heroes of the Storm week right now. If we wrap up Into the Nexus a little bit early, and I join you for Heroes Family Night, it is the most fun I have had in this game in a very, very long time. And that's not talking down to Heroes at all. It's just talking up to the quality of company that is your extended family, Kyle.
Well, and I mean, to show my hand a little bit, since I have been playing with nothing but friends and family, I've played really nothing but Uther and tanks all week. Things that I would never right now run among my fellow random Heroes players because they get kind of upset about things. And I've just been getting to play exactly what I want with them, and everybody's loving my Uther, and I can't complain, man. It's fantastic. I also want to give a shout out right here, though, to our patrons during last week's Patron Bonanza, because we wrecked 3 13-minute games in a row, as I remember it.
It was disgusting, Kyle. And one of those, speaking of treats, because, yeah, you're right, the patrons bestowed onto me a very special treat during the Bonanza last week, which was when a certain game came up, and were we on Battlefield? Were we on freaking Battlefield? And you guys are like, "Hey Gary, you want to go Zagara?" I'm like, "Ooh, I get to go Zagara on a 2-lane map, guys. Does this mean I get to go Maw?" And everyone's like, and you included, are like, "Yeah, this is you get to go Maw," and I get to go old school Battle Zagara. It was my birthday. It was a little late for my birthday, but it was basically my birthday.
People are cool. People are cool. We've been through a lot of meta shifts, and we all have some characters we love playing, and you got friends, and they're cool with it. It's a good place to be.
It is a good place to be, man. It helps that Cigar is fine. She's in a great place right now. I can't complain about that. My only complaint is people still want to play Specialist, so I don't get to just lock mine in and not even pay attention.
Yeah, in that kind of way, I really have moved on to tank this week. If it comes about that everyone's like, Uther's basically a tank, that's where I'll go. But this week was nothing but ETC and getting my Blaze trained up for if I need him for another stun. I mean, I'm really on this double tank meta right now. It's still going on, supplying so much stun. In fact, back in the old Dota days, the only thing we would really type to communicate when we were doing all pick is pick stuns. And it's nothing we really do in Heroes of the Storm because there's lanes and objectives and all these things that mix up how our team fights process, particularly when the objectives are 2 and split. In Dota, whichever team had the most stuns by that eventual 20, 30-minute team fight usually won. So it's a great strategy to just throw out. And you can do that in Heroes of the Storm. It's really easy. In fact, counting stuns, like we talked about weeks ago when we were talking about the Udall article.
Oh,
which
yeah.
You should check out all the
how
same.
to know if you're going to win that opening fight. And it's just count the stuns. Do you have one or more fewer stuns than they do? Don't engage them. Don't engage the fight. Dance.
Yeah.
Dance and throw a spray down. I don't believe Udall said that specifically, but I may be embellishing. How are you enjoying Blaze, man? Because did you play him a lot during his kind of launch? I don't remember really hearing you say much about him.
No, but when new tanks and new supports come out, I often lose a lot because, one, the meta's probably shifted around it, and two, I'm often playing on stream, and we're just kind of getting people together, and from a tank role, we aren't filling out a whole team anymore. If I'm on like a high mobility or assassin, those are blast releases because everyone kind of knows what's going on. Just heal and support the heck out of Kyle. He'll go. And when you becomes a more support role, that falls apart if you're not among your kind of core player base among similar skills.
I feel the same way. I do have to say, and I'm not even joking, just in the background while you were talking, I looked up Heroes release calendar because I don't remember, but I was thinking in my head, Blaze is my favorite of the new heroes, and I'm thinking, well, how far back do I consider a new hero? But I'm just gonna say, I think Blaze is my favorite hero since Stukov in July of last year.
I'd agree with you. Yeah, I could go on that train. Stukov's just a blast.
Yeah, my God, Malthael really was the hero before Stukov? Malthael feels like he's been here forever.
That's interesting.
I didn't remember that. Not to
Lucio
go all...
feels like he's been in the game forever, too. And Genji.
Well, Lucio has been. We just yesterday hit 1 year of Lucio.
1 year of perfect. But Zul'jin, you rarely see him, and he's kind of like, oh, he exists? Sweet. I'd still love to make my way back onto him. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so you're not off base at all with kind of my thoughts on Blaze. I need the right team. I will Blaze for that just sounds like we're doing college things. I will play Blaze all night long for people like you and patrons and whatnot.
Well, and that's when I've been getting in these groups with, our patrons or my family or my viewers. I'm doing the shot calling, and what easier place to do that than on the tank. So it's just kind of a natural fit that I naturally kind of made my way. And in fact, I was thinking, okay, I need to train up my ATC. I'm on Brawl with the Blues this week, play nothing but like 2 hours straight of ETC, all trained up, took it into Hero League. I mean, granted, I was tanking for Psalm, which may have given me some inflated ideas of what I'm capable of when a pro player is playing the assassin.
I think that's helpful, though. I think it's helpful. If you see how the hero is supposed to work or how it can work when properly supported, it kind of proves to you, oh, right, so this is how this hero is supposed to work. If you like taking ETC into a game where your comp makes no sense, no one backs you up, and nothing you do works, you're not really learning anything.
Well, and any feedback you get in that environment is helpful. Whereas this afternoon, you and I were playing a game, and we were receiving advice from a level 42 Genji, who was great. He was performing well, but he had some choice words for how we should have been tanking 4 levels down. And that simply didn't fly in my book.
Our games this afternoon, the comms were basically both of us, not just me. Both of us were just sitting there grumbling, basically. It's a rough afternoon, folks, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. I'm kind of used to having 4 people really stoked when I power slide at the moment, so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was on a specialist. There was only so much I could do. My bad, Kyle. Well, it's interesting. Right now, I'm definitely in the I need to play with friends camp. If that's okay.
No, nothing wrong with that. In fact, I mean, the game has been out for 3 years plus, and so much has changed that playing among people who've been playing that long and have similar views as to what's capable. I mean, look at something like Merc camps right now. They are almost kind of, unless you're ahead, useless in many ways. And if you are running things like maybe Rehgar, Illidan, these guys who really succeed alongside Merc camps, it can be really frustrating to be in a solo queue environment there. Because you think you're doing your business, but no one's playing around them, because it takes an older play style to make those guys work in our previous mindset. So if someone wants to run double support with my Uther, I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. Whereas that wouldn't fly.
Yeah. No, very good point. Kind of the state of consciousness right now. You need to take that into account. Well, something happened, Kyle. Something happened immediately following last week's episode. So let's talk about it in really the only bit of Heroes News this week.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Click the play button, and let's get started.
And I would just like to start with a sigh of relief that the news is pretty quiet this week. That we didn't get some massive game-shifting patch. Not even on the PTR. We're going to let things settle. I hope. Please let things settle.
We can expect that. We can expect settling because we are approaching already, as crazy as that is, the Eastern and Western clash. And those are going to be in early March.
Yep. But, we got on the horn last week. Kyle showed up for our Thursday show, talked about Maiev, talked about the Maiev patch, talked about the nerfs to Genji, Hanzo, and the like. And basically we're sitting here being like, yeah, Maiev will be nerfed next week. That'll definitely happen. We were wrong. She was nerfed the next day.
Friday.
Yeah. So on Friday of last week, we didn't get a chance to talk about it on the show. If somehow you missed it, pretty much like a 6.5% nerf across the board. Basic attack damage down. Base max health regen down. Fan of Knives damage decreased. Vault of the Wardens no longer grants passive armor. Which means you need to heal your Maiev now. It's a novel concept, I know. Also, Naisha's Memento. The bounce no longer deals bonus damage.
Big deal.
Huge deal.
Yeah.
And at level 16, Armored Assault, the physical damage bonus has been decreased. It also now activates if Maiev has any amount of bonus armor.
Simply because she used to have passive armor, so they set it above your passive. Now you have no armor, you get some armor, you do bonus damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is all good. We're going to talk quite a bit about stats here in a bit, but she is also still good. Very good, in fact.
Yeah, she's doing just fine. We can expect, come the clashes, that Maiev will receive the ban, and that seems to be the word around at the moment, which is going to leave room for whatever else we're running. And right now we're kind of looking at the Shimada brothers, saying Hanzo, Genji, they'll probably get through where they previously wouldn't have. Maybe in Korean settings, you might have some of those Uther supports and other sorts of targeted bans that manage to get through the draft as well. So it should be really exciting. I mean, as funny as it is to say there is now a required ban, and that's not maybe the most healthy thing for the viewability. It means we're not doing targeted bans on the enemy players for the HGC, and we might get to see some really cool, weird stuff.
Also, if it's not player-specific targeted bans, we may actually learn something useful for games at home.
That as well.
Which I am all about, spreading knowledge.
Well, if you were like me and you enjoyed Maiev's vengeful spirit build, the time is over, sadly. We got to play Wild. We weren't really nerfed in that regard, but with your survivability going down, your mobility and its importance goes up, and positioning properly becomes more important. So if you were running a Spirit of Vengeance build, go ahead and move yourself off that. Really right now, Umbral build is probably the safest thing to do because it pulls people to your team and keeps you in an area that would be the best for everybody else, including your supports. And if you're completely over-supported, then you can go Fan of Knives build, which I think is a pretty healthy place to be. That damage is still pretty crazy. They reduced the damage by 10, so that's not nuts when you're getting resets. You just have to make sure there's enough healing to go through it.
Yeah. Yep. So have you been playing much more Maiev, or were you just heartbroken by the loss of your favorite build?
No, and if anything, it's still sitting there. It just wouldn't be the correct thing to get trained up on. And currently, I'm not playing her because she is receiving so many bans. It's not worth my time. When Blaze is sitting there wide open with a really nice kind of surprise factor to him. I don't know how many games I've lost recently. Same thing can happen with Arthas and Ghouls, where you go, he's half health, like the Gray Man goes, and you know, half his health disappears, and everyone's like, oh, get him.
Kill the Arthas.
Yep, but then they activate some armor. They start healing off fire on the ground, and you've made the worst choice of your life, and Blaze is 100% okay, and you'll die due to your targeting issues.
This is my, I think I'm finding my pull to the light again. I feel like for months now, I just haven't known where I should put my effort, put my passion, what heroes I should basically marry, what heroes I'm adding to my stable. And I think I'm with you. I think it's tanks, and I think it's that very reason. It's because of things like Blaze and Arthas. Again, kind of inviting those mistakes, inviting a reaction, and then having a reaction to that reaction, in this case of surviving it and making them rout.
Well, we're also finding right now that wizards are pretty out. They're very exposed, and specialists often have greater survivability. Right now, in our home metas, we're seeing that specialists should really only be taken as a recovery measure if you see you don't have enough lane clear. Very rarely should you ever lead a draft with a specialist unless you're on a 3-lane map. A 2-lane map, you're probably going to lose your 1v1 matchup, and your impact is actually pretty low because you're thinking about maybe throwing out some toads. Will these hit something? You put out a Hydra. I don't know about you. I know you love Zagara, and it pains me, but I feel like I always auto-put my Hydra on the tank because it's the one thing that's close enough to me in range without me having to expose myself too deep into that line.
Oh, and I gotta make the. I mean, it depends. Once you get past 10, if you have your Nidus up and you're getting basically the battle momentum and reducing those cooldowns, throw it on whatever the hell you want. You'll have another one very soon. But early game, yes, I absolutely understand where you're coming from, and it's not. I don't think it's the wrong decision if you absolutely can't get in range of a different target. Like if that cooldown, if you will wait an entire cooldown's length before you can get in range of a better target, put some pressure on the tank.
Well, and same thing happens to me with Nazebo. I got to throw some spiders, and in the early game, I'm working on stacks. So who's going to receive it but probably the largest guy on the enemy team, which isn't exactly the one I should be targeting a lot of the time.
I like Nazebo, though. I feel like he still has some flex because it depends on what your team has. I feel like the flexibility is receding a bit. I'm seeing Ragnaros kind of start to fall off again. I'm not even sure why, but I'm seeing a lot less Ragnaros in my games. But if you end up with like a Rag on your team, you could still get the Nazebo. That opens up the flex to maybe not go Toad build, to maybe go old school where you're just trying to get stacks and play the long game. But then I also like, if I'm on a map where I'm pretty sure the Toads are going to connect, and even if they don't, where I'm going to control some space with the Toads, that makes me happy as well.
Absolutely. And there's still a place for that. And I think it's absolutely viable on 3-lane maps where you can rhythmically switch around a little bit. 2-lane maps, you're going to be stuck in a duel. And until you get those level 4 talents, you're going to go out of mana, and it won't go so well. Yeah,
for me right now, as far as Toad Nazebo goes, if I can pick up Nazebo on Cursed Hollow or Volskaya, I'm pleased as punch.
I think leading your drafts with CC is very powerful at the moment. And if you're not going to do that, supply that regeneration bruiser like a Malthael and maybe like a Rag, but that too doesn't have that that cleanup potential, maybe like Last Rites has, which is currently popular on Malthael, and it causes more clog, which is easily punished at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of already getting into our meta gut check discussion, so why don't we just move this right along into this week's strategy chat?
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? That seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
Yes, you do, Nazebo. So coming into today, we figured we should kind of just take a look at the stats. We've been talking a lot of stats in the last few weeks, but we really haven't talked about like trends. And when I was looking at it today, I realized that I've seen some heroes consistently on top all season. Now they've moved up a little bit up and down, but they've been, I would just say, healthy. And in our Nazebo talk, maybe think we should just move on because he's one of these heroes. He's still in the stats available to us via hot slogs. Not perfect, we know, but all we have to look at. He's still in the top 5, and he has been all season.
And one thing really interesting about this most recent iteration of Nazebo is there's a really good split here, other than maybe range and kind of the utility build that I love so much. Is a little too late game at the moment. I still think Uproot Zombie is fantastic for taking Merc camps. Oh, crud. Merc camps aren't that great anymore. And
well, are you winning? Well, if you're winning, you didn't really need them to take the Merc camp in the first place. You can just grab them with your friends as you're moving forward. That's right. Spec and take Merc camps is the most useless thing in the game right now, and it makes me sad.
Right. The only reason you would do Zombie Uproot is if you know you're going to get to 20 maybe on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and you really want a poison bomb that's going to stand up and go hit everyone in the area. So if you're running against a bunch of real squishies, that'll scare the crud out of them. They'll lose half their health due to that poison. It's a great way to connect without saying, walk into these toads or I hope this jar hits.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But nothing's really changed with Nazebo. If you've been keeping an eye on his statistics over the course of this entire season, the Toad build has been on top all season, and it still is. But the thing I like the most is that there's a split in his ultimates. People are actually taking Ravenous Spirit again. You alluded to this probably a month and a half ago. I think right around the start of the season, you were like, "Yeah, I've been playing with Ravenous Spirit again," and you're not alone. Gargantuan is still the majority picked ultimate here by a large margin. We're talking 75% of the time going to Gargantuan, 25% of the time going to Ravenous Spirit. But Nazebo is a hero with a lot of games logged. That is still a lot of games going to Ravenous Spirit, and the win rate is within 1% of each other.
And Ravenous Spirit was awful during our previous meta of double support because just like Pyroblast or any sort of burst ultimate, if you can heal through it, no big deal. And it didn't do anything. But now with double tank, there's a lot of health to go through. And sometimes if there's not too much CC on the enemy team, it's going to be great. Though I would suggest right now, I played with this yesterday. Diablo puts a thing under your feet and he can be on the other side of the map and you're standing here Ravenous Spirit and he doesn't care. So don't run that Ravenous Spirit against Diablo. Bad idea.
Well, yeah, that's what I like about it. You can make the decision when you get to 10.
And I'm seeing the same thing with ETC. I'm loving Stage Dive right now.
Yeah, you've been all about that. Although I saw you go mosh earlier today, sir.
Yeah, that was I think it was a panic pick because we were losing. I was going, maybe I could pull this off on a too late map. I'm not going to soak it out.
And you got some beautiful moshes there, man. But
thank you.
You know, Greymane just wasn't connecting that game. But he was judging.
I think if we were to put a cap on where Nazebo should stop, it's a little difficult because of some of our league mixes ups from the bugs and whatnot this season. But I'd say somewhere around maybe Plat 3, you should consider moving off of Toads into Spiders and definitely doing Gargantuan for the zone control.
I like that. That's a good. I've always liked your ability to kind of try and break things down to the various leagues. It probably helps that you coach.
I see all
Jeff.
the leagues constantly.
You see all the leagues constantly. Exactly. Yeah, I like the trends that you pick up on. As far as assassins that have been just consistent this whole damn season, Tracer and Kerrigan have just been kind of vying for position of top assassin below some new risers, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this is one that I just haven't been seeing, really. Kerrigan, okay, from time to time, but almost no Tracer in my games.
No, and without Tassadar being combined on top of it, that direct power has been lost in my league as well. So I'm not sure where the Tracers are at the moment. I can assume that they're skilled. It's not a hot thing at the moment. And same thing with Kerrigan, actually. There is a very good win rate for Kerrigan in HTC right now. And it can be really oppressive looking and really impressive. But you have to realize, too, that the guy on Kerrigan plays about 3 heroes. And Kerrigan is usually somewhere in his main staple.
Yeah. God, don't you just... do you miss the days as much as I do when we wanted to play? We wanted to just kind of be jerks and not try that hard, and we would just go Tracer Tassadar?
It was fun. I really did like that auto attack build, but it was kind of just a holdover for Tychus in a sense. I mean, giant killers in general just get me excited.
Yeah, I like them. I like them as well. And then Butcher,
I went on a big
man.
Zarya stint this week too, because I was feeling early in the week before I started doing the tanking. I actually got there because people were okay with it being run as sort of a second support, and it kind of has that Tassadar but good damage kind of look to it. But you bring 0 CC, and you bring no way for Tracer to actually get her total health back up.
Yeah,
which is what Tassadar supplied.
You added Butcher in here as well under Assassins, and you're right. That's another hero that I have seen relatively high all season long, but much like Tracer, I can't tell you the last time I saw someone draft Butcher.
Well, and actually Adam, during the Brawl with the Blues, mentioned from their internal data that Butcher is the highest win rate hero if you look at all leagues.
Wow.
Also, they mentioned in the higher leagues, Diamond and above, Genji is the lowest win rate assassin. We all think we're so hot.
Yeah, that is reassuring.
Yeah, it's kind of calming, right?
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not that afraid of Genji anymore. I mean, clearly it depends on what hero I am, right? Like if I'm strolling in as Jaina, I'm not just about to throw a party because I see a Genji on the other team. But overall, I've been having a lot better games against Genjis.
Well, and Genji has been through a bit of a circus recently. He received that nerf on his Dragon Blade, and it used to be that Dragon Blade, and the damage did not move a lot. It's not insane. We were talking like, what, 20 damage off of it? But yeah, 20 damage from 240 to 220. But that sort of change in a AoE situation is a lot of damage. And Genji was supplying his own resets in that way. He would go in, Dragon Blade, mess people up. Someone would go off on their own scared, trying to break off from the AoE chain, and then he'd Swift Strike over to him, get the kill, and Swift Strike back and kind of get some Li Ming resets. Now we're seeing Genji have to kind of make his way back onto more of a Shuriken build because he has to supply his own damage to get his resets now.
Yeah, which is, if you've been playing Genji the whole time, all of a sudden here is a new, learning curveball thrown at you.
It's almost like a weird opposite of what we're seeing with Malthael, who is actually really good.
Oh,
it's
man.
Last Rites Malthael.
Oh, do we have to sit here and say that we really, really, really miscalled this one?
I don't think so, because this is a really complex issue. Just like we were excited for laning changes, and then we went, the game is snowballing. Well, no, duh, you won the early game harder, and therefore you won the game harder. Of course it's going to be a little snowbally. And one of the things we didn't think about on Malthael is that with his auto attack splashing, losing all that attack damage from the initial hit, losing the healing on his AoE self-sustain, he no longer has to cast a single Death Shroud to mark a lane. And every time a lane came at you, that cost you 50 mana to get that out. And when you cut 50 mana from every single lane, and your auto attacks are covering that, and you don't need Tormented Souls, which is still fine, because there are going to be fights where nobody's marked up yet, and you just want to go and run in and make a big mess of things. We've been running in our team league games because of Uther, and it's just solid. And it makes initiation very easy. But as long as he's got that covered, a way to get in enough support and enough CC to stay connected Last Rites will complete the kill. So unlike Genji, who's now having trouble doing the AoE damage and then completing the kill, Malthael's kind of got both.
I was about to ask you about Last Rites. Do you think Last Rites is playing any role in this kind of resurgence of Malthael? Because off air this week, when I've talked to you about Heroes of the Storm, you've talked a lot about the importance of completing the kill.
Yeah.
Malthael has it in an ability.
Absolutely. And it's on a delay too, which is, as weird as it is to say, very powerful because people get scared and they run off on bad angles often, and they don't run towards their supports, and they will die to Last Rites, and you will get a cooldown decrease, giving you greater power into the game.
Yeah. That's interesting about Death Shroud, though. I hadn't really picked up on that being one of the keys of his rise, is the fact that one of his 3 basic abilities he just doesn't have to use anymore.
No, and it's still great for chokes. It's great to initiate a team fight, kind of why you don't need Tormented Souls at the moment, unless you're going against like triple tank or something weird.
Yeah.
That impact of having mana for the first objective is huge.
Yep. Yeah. He's giving him a new mana pool, man. Who'da thunk it? Are you seeing a lot of Artanis? This is another one I have a question about.
No Artanis, actually,
okay.
Where I'm playing right now.
Yeah, because he has stayed... like overall, all leagues that we can see, the highest as far as warriors are concerned.
Well, he does enable picks. I do wonder if there's a bit of a smashing kind of thing going on there. Also, in this sort of meta right now, only people playing Artanis are mains, and I'm fine with any day you want to show off your Artanis main, go for it.
Yeah, the thing is that he has a lot of games played as well, and that's why I bring him up. You're not going to hear me mention something like Probius today, because Probius has been killing it all season, but I don't think we've seen his games played rise above 700 for a given week snapshot.
Well, and Probius benefits from fundamentals of understanding lane clear and soak, and just simply will not see good play in lower leagues.
Yeah. The Artanis thing, that has me interested, because I like playing Artanis, and I've just kind of avoided him for a long time now. And this is just kind of, every time I see this, I go, is it time? Is it time to dust off my Artanis? But I think I'm okay in the warrior field. It's not a place I really think I need to expand. I think I need to start expanding in other places.
Yeah, well, you've got Arthas. You're working on Blaze as well. You played a bit of ETC. I mean, what else you got?
Varian all day, every day. If it comes down to that, I'm a little bored at this point because he's very vanilla. But there's no arguing with results.
Yeah, and Varian really has that. The thing I love, my favorite place to draft Varian is when I am under-supported and the enemy team is nothing but burst, because you don't need heals if you protected yourself through the entire 7-second delayed now opener. Oh, Kael'thas and Li Ming both hit you with their main spell. You were invincible. Guess they'll have to wait 7 seconds before they try that again.
Yeah, I just don't like the early game, really early game. As soon as I can get that invulnerable talent, I'm okay. When I get to 10, I'm great. But that journey to 10, I feel like I'm signing up for a chore every time I lock in Varian.
It can be, absolutely, and I would encourage Varians to very quickly take themselves off to a solo lane so you don't really have to interact with that kind of team fight problem, because you will get into trouble because you do play Varian the majority of the time above 4, and you're going to try to catch that Li Ming orb for your team and go, oh, whoops.
Forgot. Oh, whoops. You said mages are kind of out, right? Because I'm still playing the Jaina. Jaina seems to still be doing well. But no one really else. Kael'thas barely staying above a 50% win rate.
Yeah, the problem with mages in our home games right now is you only get one. And they're fun. And if you want to be the mage player, you're gonna have to fight. And if you already got an Asmodan on the team, you got to give that up right away. I mean, I thought too, like something like Kael'thas, that level 7 giant killer, level 7 giant killer in double tank meta with living bombs. That sounds hot, literally. But you're ruining your own draft in a lot of ways. Because one person can mess that up now. You take a warrior, there's slots for 2 of them, particularly if you take enough CC.
So, I mean, why does Kael'thas not function? Is it just Is it just the mistakes it opens up in the other slots?
It's more that you can, because we're not running a lot of sustained damage right now, you can do great AoE damage, but our most popular healers right now are Morales, which is slightly unrelated, but will still make a good recovery for her team, Stukov, and Lucio. And if you're doing once every 8 or so seconds a okay hit of damage, that'll all be healed off by the time you've got that next one ready to go.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I haven't really been playing any mages other than Jaina. Kael'thas with friends. That's about it.
And Jaina's great.
I'm really missing Li Ming, though. I am missing Li Ming right now so much because it feels, Kyle, like the double tank meta back when I just would orb build all day long and it would work. But it's not working.
No. Well, there's a lot of power in those solo healers I just mentioned to help their team recover. And aiming is also, detrimental if you don't hit. And that's something we talked about with Dung Train before. Don't be over weird. If both your Kael'thas and your Jaina have to aim everything, who's hitting the squirrely guy? Who's cleaning up?
Yeah.
What happens if you both miss in the start of the team fight?
You should have just taken Malthael.
Yeah, and just walked your way in and gone for Mental Souls, because it's still easy and great.
Committed. Specialist is not really much still for me to say here other than what I mentioned at the top, which is like in my game, Specialist is still a contested slot. Zagara and Gazlo have been in the top all season long. Gazlo, obviously, with significantly less games played, but still more than someone like Probius, so we can actually look at these stats and kind of pay some attention to them. That really hasn't changed. I'm glad to see that because, well, the laning phase hasn't changed since the big change.
Yeah, and they've still got a great spot. You can absolutely, like I said, run a Specialist. Better to do it later, though, and make sure that, there has been that mistake made on your team of too little lane clear. And in that case, Genji and whatever else you have that's giving the pressure to the team fights allows Naz to do the double soak and run around like crazy, or lets that demon go wild in the bottom summoned by Asmodan.
Yep. Just make sure you had enough stuns. If you got a Naz and a Genji, who has the stuns?
Right, and who's hitting, Make it easier for everybody.
Yep. And then support, man. Lili has been on top all season. I feel like we never talk about Lili.
No, but I've been seeing a bit of Lili myself, and it's usually in a blind role. There's been some sort of Zul'jin or investment in auto attacks that looks really heavy on the enemy side. The Cups change has been great, and when things are getting as CC heavy as they are right now, Cups reduces its own cooldown if you're interrupted. And maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a dragon in forever, though.
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that build quite a bit.
Alex Strauss is fine. She's everywhere.
Oh, well, yes. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Brightwing's been dipping a little bit. She's still above the 50% win rate. If we want to move into heroes that are kind of on the rise, Morales has been kind of putzing around below a 50% win rate in the last 7 days. Has made the crest and is now safely over that 50% line.
Yeah, there's a nice little surprise talent on Morales as well that you might want to watch out for. This is what I refer to as the Drippies.
The Drippies.
The Drippies, yes. System Shock at 13. Getting hit by a grenade reduces your damage dealt by 30%. And that's a pretty good move when we've got double tank and they're very easy to hit in the front and supplying lots of damage.
Also, that your grenade on Morales is the only ability you really have to try with, so they're usually pretty good at landing that grenade.
Now, hang on a second.
I play Morales. I'm not digging on anyone.
No, it's true. I don't play a lot of Morales, and when I do get lost on my heal beam. That thing is actually kind of tough to manage.
Yes.
And when you fight a good Safeguard Morales, you can feel it. That is impactful.
It's still point and click.
It is, but so is Maiev, but I'm still impressed when it works.
I like playing Morales because I feel like I'm getting really good Wailing Arrow practice.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, if you get bored playing Morales, just pretend you're Sylvanas at 10.
Yeah.
I'm glad I entertained you. Zool, another one on the rise.
Interesting.
Yeah, coming up. He made it over that 50% hump. He's almost at 52%.
I wonder if that's just, specialists in lower leagues being specialists and also having a bit of tankability due to the bone armor, and that's kind of supplying that mouthfeel kind of moment.
Yeah. And then the one that in the last week has piqued my interest the most, Sonya. Last week we didn't really talk about it, but she fell below the 50% win rate mark.
Oh.
Or was close to it, but she's back up now. I mean, not as high as she was before, like at the beginning of the season. She was all the way up at the tippy top.
Yeah.
But she's hanging on, and she's starting to climb back up.
Interesting.
Yeah,
wonder.
That's the one I can't quite pick up, unless I don't know. I mean, maybe I could see myself in a place where we still need a second warrior, but we need a bruiser, and Arthas doesn't make sense.
I mean, I bet you a lot of that fall was just due to every Sonya, and we have to battle this too in our team league right now. I mean, Kristen was Minister of Camps, and she has fantastic timing. But with camps losing their power, we've had to really pull that back, and the correct decision is not to, we want a team fight. Sonya, go off by yourself and do things. We have to kind of rein that in, and I wonder if now we're going back to, all right, so Sonya's team fighting. She's staying with the team now. She's not being a deficit by doing those things anymore.
Oh, that's interesting. So just playing her as a team fight, Sonya, and just like get the mercs out of your head. Stop thinking about mercs.
Well, and with so much CC right now being drafted, I find Sonya is very oppressive for the tanks to deal with because it takes a stun to stop the whirlwind. And otherwise she's going to regenerate and keep being on top of your backline. So you stun her, but that's a stun that just went into the off tank. Yeah. And that's not really all that valuable anymore.
No. Are you going to secure that kill? Probably not.
No. Probably. I mean, the Uther worked because I was in the back line and Sonya would come to me and I am a support going, oh, okay, Kwong. And like that's fine. No value lost. I am a support controlling an enemy's healing output. That's great. But when the tank has to ETC power slide backwards when he could power slide across the whole enemy front line to get one Sonya, that's going to fail.
I always like thinking about resources lost or resources spent.
Yeah,
it's a good place to put your head. And then, so we've talked about who's been consistent, who's been on the rise. Let's talk about who's dropping. And it's Hanzo, man. Hanzo is falling down.
Yeah, there have been several huge hits to Hanzo. The main one being that you can't really pull off that instant reset anymore if you were going with your AA resetting the scatter shot build. It now, I believe, has a 3-second window no matter how well you shoot it. We're still seeing Hanzo just instantly clear camps, but what have we been talking about today? Camps aren't great, and that's not where you should be putting your attention.
Refer to your notes. What did we say about camps?
Not today.
Not today, indeed. Man, Hanzo's hanging out with Illidan right now.
Oh, well, same exact story. Oh my goodness. Poor Illidan. We ran him last night, and he felt so weak. He managed every camp and hunted in beautifully, but that has no power.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, kind of notch by notch falling down. It's been a pretty consistent fall, but I think we just have to mention Nova, because at the beginning of the season, man, what were we auto banning?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and she's really fallen off.
Well, the majority of trouble with Nova in the beginning of the season was the loss of double support, where there was that one extra heal that was going to maybe fly. Stukov, let's say, is in the back and throws a booger forward and is taking care of his team. But, oh no, Nova pops out. It's cool. We're also running a darn Ana, and she heals the Stukov, thereby negating what Nova's up to. And so when we went to solo support, she would attack during the support's cooldowns, and with only one there, isolated in the back line, Nova was wrecking.
Yeah. It's an interesting place right now for sure. But I just wanted to take a look at this and like just do my own gut check. Like, is what I think working? Is what I think is bad really bad? But I mostly just wanted to look and see who's been so damn consistent, because I just kind of started making mental note of like, man, Tracer, Kerrigan, Nazebo, Gazlo. I've just seen him on top all season.
Yeah, we're slowly making our way back to where we were about a year ago now, where the double tank came in. It feels very oppressive with the amount of CC it has, and we start working our way onto these comps that are very bursty in the front, but then have a cleanup option. And that's what you need to be thinking about when you're drafting. Much like we talked multiple times today about the Toads, you are going to throw those into the tanks and maybe hopefully hit other people, and you'll be sitting there saying, I'm top damage, what's wrong with everybody? But if you don't have that Sammy, Nova, Genji, whoever it is, to complete that kill, Malthael doing it for himself now, which is why he's so powerful, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap this up and move into emails, we have patrons to thank, Kyle, over at patreon.com/ITN. We have hundreds of people that we like to call our bosses, who support this show monetarily, $1 show, $2 show, some of you to astronomical levels that we cannot thank enough. And we have some new patrons to thank. We have Ed H, Fran N, and Yoda Leia He Who.
Fantastic.
I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. He sure did.
Yeah. There's some Star Wars Lederhosen cosplay mashup happening here.
Well, and I believe that there is Brockness, who we've been playing with since we, I believe, started this show or so.
Which has to do with?
Oh, from our A-Move chat. Always hanging out there.
No, I know Brockness.
After show games. Yeah.
Was that? Oh, like instead of Loch Ness?
Wait, no, like Brockness became Yoda. That is the same guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is Brockness.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, well. And if it's not, we apologize. Whatever the case is, Yoda Leia He Who took me a minute today while I was adding this to the notes to thank you and made me giggle. And also feel kind of dumb. So thanks.
Yeah.
Anyways, patreon.com/ITN. If you want to support the podcast, please go and check it out. Now, let's crack open that mailbag.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell him I'm not here.
Send those emails to itncast@gmail.com. Tyler D. writes in this week and says, Hi, fellas. I am interested in a conversation about Rehgar. I had a quick match game with him today where, at the end, I had generated 60,000 healing, while the enemy Alex had 120,000. My Ragnaros and Nova, who had a combined 2 kills... I feel some judgment about to come down, told me to uninstall the game. I would argue that the killing and not the healing was the problem. However, I hold space for the fact that I can improve. So my question is, in a perfect world, how exactly is Rehgar played these days? Thanks. First of all, let me add some fuel to your judging fire. Alex's main heal is a giant circle on the ground that the entire team, herself included, can all stand in at the same time. So if your team, and your Ragnaros from Nova with combined 2 kills, are not applying enough pressure to get the enemy team out of that circle, that's exactly the kind of numbers you're going to see come out of an Alex Strauza.
Yep, it's very much the same situation I see a lot right now where people are like, oh man, Stukov's so good, he's so oppressive. It's like there's nothing oppressive about throwing down an increasing size AoE silence on top of your gate when you're 4 levels ahead, not in any danger. Like that Stukov's not great. There's just no way we're reaching him to stop that particular thing. So same with Alex here. Like they're getting on your case when you're probably already losing the game and never interacted with Abundance in the first place. There's no way you were going to pressure them out of that circle from behind.
Exactly. And
oh, you had a Ragnaros too. That's his job, not yours. It's his job to mess with the W there. If you take Echo Pedal on ETC, you drop that in the middle of Abundance. You put your Flame Strike there, you put your Root on top of it. There is a lot of good calling card responses to someone putting an Abundance out.
Yeah. All right, so we've defended him enough.
Okay. I mean, it's the same thing as like the tank saying, "Oh, you all suck. I have top damage." It's like, what? First of all, your character's on fire. You are literally, by standing next to them, doing damage, and you're also the last one left alive. So who do you think has top damage? Don't tell me these things.
Also, when the tank says I have top damage, how many deaths does that tank have? Is he just engaging and doing damage and dying over and over again? He's gonna have top damage,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all do it. You know, the game's being lost. You know, you got a 5% giant killer on your devastate charge on Diablo, and you slam a couple tanks into the wall to make yourself look good, even though you know you're gonna lose. It's just natural.
Yep. Exactly. Or you run out from the altar and hit ice block on Nazebo because you're just mad at the world.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the spray and whatnot.
Yep. Yeah, but okay, but he did ask for some tips to improve on Rehgar. So basically, Kyle, I see you've come prepared with a list of questions.
Yeah, and some sort of checks you can do for yourself here. I mean, one thing about Rehgar is it's going to be difficult to play from behind because your main CC, the Earthbind Totem, is a summon. And that is going to have less health than it should if your level's behind, and it'll get destroyed by any sort of collateral splashy damage. So holding on to a level lead with Rehgar because of that sort of nature of him is very important. And if you start to lose that, it's okay to take it easier and understand how you need to change your Earthbind Totem usage. You know, use it on the edge. Stop positioning it out in front of them so they have to walk the whole length of it. That isn't a head move because now that totem would take so many hits and so many spells to get rid of. It would actually be a deficit for them to remove it in the first place. So they go, oh, I have to walk through both sides of the range, if you will, the full circle. Put it on your half, so they at least have to slow themselves to fire backwards.
That's good thinking.
I mean, it's one of the first things, any summoner character, when you get behind, you need to be super careful because your summons are behind as well, and that's your DPS.
What about managing deaths? I notice on myself as well that Rehgar can elicit a certain bloodthirst.
The Feral Lunge is a very dangerous little talent. Mm-hmm. It's baked in now to his Ghost Wolf, and it does quite a bit of bonus damage, 75% bonus damage on your auto attack. The best way to use this right now is to haunt the tank and just be right behind them for anything. I mean, ideally, of course, you know, something that brings it to you so you don't have to invest with them. So Rehgar alongside ETC is a bit dangerous because ETC might engage forward, making your butt bite go forward for an extended period as well. Alongside something like a Stitches or heroes that will at least keep them still in front of you and not reposition them, maybe like Muradin with a shorter range on his stun. That allows you to be right there, right next to the tank, deliver a large amount of burst damage, throw your shield on that tank who is also currently engaged in melee, and then get out. And plus, the sort of burst is going to scare the enemy. It'll make them afraid. They will run away in big straight lines. They won't stand there auto-attacking you.
So you're suggesting a buddy system with your tank?
Yeah, very much so with Rehgar. And ideally, you have one of these self-sustaining tanks, Stitches, Muradin with a break for himself, ETC. Artanis is okay, but that's shielding and you can still lose total health over time. Rehgar's, the majority of his chain healing is going to be bouncing around to the squishies to keep them encouraged and active.
I will take this into account. So you're saying just because my ability that does extra damage launches me into a situation that I shouldn't always use the launch.
Or you can hang out in that wolf form. There's nothing wrong with that. Just use the excuse of the tanks engage for your reason to. Because also that tank is probably going to receive some of the CC. He locks down the enemy. Their tank's going to respond in kind. Now you didn't do that. You're not... Stop enabling your own kills on Rehgar. That was the biggest lesson I learned. It was really tough because he is exciting. He's a wolf man. And then you have a slow and a shield bouncing around you. And back in the day, not too long ago now, with the lightning bond, I believe, I've already forgotten. But the talent that would give you a another earth or another lightning shield if you cast it on another ally. That allowed you, with conjunction of your Earthbind totem, to solo a kill. That is not possible anymore, and admitting that is the first step.
Yep. If you're newer to the game, ignore everything we just said. It doesn't even work.
And here's a nice way to think about it. Feral Lunge, like any of our charge mechanics, Varian and Cassia, because it has a really short range, it doesn't look as wacky. You don't see, Rehgar going and go-karting around the zombie wall in circles. But that's basically what's happening. If you can control yourself to only Feral Lunge things that are already CC'd, they won't move and they won't ruin your positioning. And I've done it before. I've gone to Feral Bite that Falstad, and I end up half across the map because he barrel rolled at the same time.
Yep. And, oh, God, right now, if you do that in range of a tower,
Oh, yeah, you're dead.
Oh, that hurts so bad.
You're dead, or it's going to cost you so many resources to recover from that move that your team will fall behind.
Yeah, you took yourself out of the game for an inordinate amount of time, one way or the other. What about Healing Totem to get those numbers up?
I mean, that's a fine thing too, and this is more of a solo queue thing. Of course, if you're winning, no one's going to care about your numbers much, but in a solo queue environment, having nice numbers is good. And a good way to fill that out, if you're not running right now, is Healing Totem. Same philosophy. It's going to die if you put it aggressively in places. So you can also kind of double up here, use Healing Totem and your Earthbound Totem to start figuring out what the health is on those summons. But this is a 2%, 10-second long heal. That's a great way to pad out those numbers and make people trust you and get them ready for the Ancestral that will eventually come.
I like that. Anything else?
We talked about enabling your own kills, and when you remove the Earthbind with the cute lightning shield on top of it, like we used to do for lane clear while you got your own lightning talent, because that talent's now gone for the game. When you should really use Earthbind Totem is if there is damage in the area. And this is something we talked about a lot with core comps in the past. But let's take it a step further. Core comps is basically, if you are a tank or support, don't pick a fight because you don't have enough damage to win the fight. Or if you are an assassin, don't dive into a core comp of a tank, support, and damage because there's no way you're going to complete that kill. Wait for enough damage to gather in the area before you lay out a CC. Otherwise, it'll just make you feel good about yourself. And that's pretty useless. So the best time to use an Earthbind Totem, like I said, after a CC tank did his job, after you got that Feral Lunge out, and maybe you're going to try to help secure that kill. But also, any skill shot character comes by. Great time. Absolutely, that increases the mana value of both your Earthbind Totem and theirs. So if Jaina runs up besides you, throw an Earthbind Totem because she's about to use a Frostbolt. And slowing them increases the chances that she's going to hit. If she misses because it's slowed, well, then she's too good. Sometimes we all have this problem where we aim something where everyone should go, but some low-level player just go, I run to the left, and that makes no sense. You're like, there's no escape down there, but they ran that way, and you missed all your skill shots. That'll happen, but do it at the very first instance and build that rapport so they know every time Jaina shows up in your lane, she gets a slow to help her out.
Yeah, you're talking to them without saying anything.
Exactly.
They're gonna learn. They missed that first one. They're like, oh, he's gonna drop his totem when I get near. I'll now start waiting for the totem.
There's one other trick, if you will, and this is something that is very enlightening and something you probably won't notice if you're just playing against Rehgars. At level 13, Earth Shield gives you that 12% of their max health shield for 3 seconds. That's not a long time. Everybody takes this thing. What's it for? It's so you can catch the damage that would otherwise destroy them while your Ancestral pops. You throw this on the tank and then immediately cast Ancestral. And while it goes, whoa, they're shielded. They will survive any burst that hits them. And then the big heal hits. And if you're not hitting your big heals and they're going on that reset cooldown, you're not going to have good numbers. So this may be a little trick that he's not aware of either.
Yeah, possibly. But again, take a step back. You were right, I think, to kind of be like, hey, 2 kills? Question mark? That is good that is good as well. And don't get too in your own head about padding your numbers, because if you're winning, no one's looking at your numbers.
Yeah.
Only time anyone's going to criticize you on numbers is when you're losing.
And if you're winning too hard, there's nothing to heal sometimes. Anyway.
That too. Yeah. That's a really good point. Moving on to the next email. A creepy bad guy writes in and says, "Good day, ITN." And a creepy bad guy here wrote, "Some of the kindest things I've ever heard from anyone." I'll make mention that in here, a creepy bad guy wrote, "I am a military veteran with various ailments, including severe anxiety and PTSD." Went on to compliment how our show has helped him. And also, given, I'm just going to start calling him Guy. Given Guy, he said in his own words, "The courage to start my own Twitch channel." I'll give you the plug here, twitch.tv/acreepybadguy. Guy is spelled G-Y, no U in there. So A creepy bad G-Y. Give the gentleman a follow. Anyway, Guy's question was, I would also like to ask a question for the podcast. Do you believe HGC directly impacts the overall current meta in Hero League in a way that reinforces innovation, a new way to play heroes and take advantage of map choices and strategy? Interested in hearing your opinion. Thank you for all that you do.
That's a really cool question. And I think the direct influence we see, the one we see the fastest, are bans. Because we don't get to see that hero played, and we can let our imagination run wild, and we assume that if they're banning them, there's something wrong there that needs to be stopped. So often, though, they're actually targeted bans, and we start to build these meta-knowledge bases about, oh, why are we always banning, Tassadar? What's that about? Well, they have a Tassadar player over there. Maybe Tassadar is not as meta as we thought.
Did we start banning Tassadar? Am I that far out of the loop?
Moment,
No, ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a statement that, gosh, it was 2 full years of basically, if you were a Tassadar player, you haven't done anything wrong since the game came out.
Wow, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, well, we're talking more pro scene, right? We're not talking about your home games and Tassadar taking the solo lane on Warhead Junction or anything like that. But, Tassadar was a force, particularly when we were under-supported and we were learning how to double support in HGC over time.
Or double support your ETC players. I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Sure, why not? Not exactly essential since he heals himself, but okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so much of what we talk about on the show is the impact of HGC on Hero League. And much like our answers to almost every question on the show, I think, it depends. Or maybe to be slightly more, use a different answer, like sometimes yes, it creates innovation in our home games, and other times no. But it really depends on what we're talking about. I would say Genji, absolutely yes. We weren't really seeing, Genji hadn't been figured out at home. In fact, when we went to the summit last year, Kyle, where we were shown Genji and Cassia for the first time, we weren't allowed to talk about it for 2 weeks. Genji was getting his clock cleaned that whole day long, no matter who was playing him.
There's also the thing, though, there on the build where if you taunted, you turn into a flying mystery cube, and people were using that.
Or was it? I feel like for me it was like a disco ball. Was it more of a disco ball, or was it a cube? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, taunts were just getting out of the game, right? Because it was not just a demonstration of Genji and Cassie. It was also a demonstration of Heroes 2.0 overall. So we're all like, yeah, let's taunt, and just boop, you just turn into a disco ball.
Yeah, well, you put nothing but a bunch of meta gamers in a room together. We're all going to figure out how to break your game as fast as possible.
Yeah. But for us at home, we didn't really figure out Genji until the pros kind of showed us how it was done. And again, very recently, let's use a more recent example, Kyle, of just the laning patch right before Christmas, where we were all you and I came out of the holidays being like, what are we supposed to do? And then HGC shows up, and then Blizzard starts dropping very informative articles on their own website from pro players, and suddenly this knowledge starts leaking into our games. Suddenly we're on this show saying, take those 2 towers. It's worth a fort. What are you doing?
Oh, and since you bring that up, they've actually continued. I thought they were going to be done because they sort of put a cap on their previous articles, but they are continuing to interview pro players. And the one that just went up today is all about Tychus. I'm excited to read through this thing.
Oh, I haven't read that. I need to check that out.
Yeah, it came out just before we started recording here.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, man?
I think that we are highly influenced by our star players, and it's really important to remember that so many of them have very small hero pools. And in fact, a trend being noticed right now in the HGC is that the larger your hero pool is, the worse you're going to do. And this particular pertains to supports and tanks. Supports and tanks can be just about as boring as you want. 5 picks maybe maximum. We're seeing real pick diversity in the flex and off lanes. But even then, a lot of these are players experimenting. They're not sure what's working. They just had a huge roster mix-up, and they're going to try something new on the field. The teams that are really succeeding are running very few heroes at the moment. But because we're jumping from team to team and we're looking at, different maps at times, it can seem like these players are really great at everything. And when they bring out a Kerrigan, that's a Kerrigan comp. It's not true. It always was a Kerrigan comp. They just got Kerrigan this time. And I think that's really the best trend to take from HGC right now, is that the teams that are winning are always drafting in a way that empowers how they like to play anyway. And this research, this understanding is why I'm back on Uther, because we figured that out. And while we bailed on it for meta reasons, we know how to run that comp. And so we won all week, and it was a blast.
Good. Just overall good tips. I love you bringing up the players with larger hero pools with the lower win rate type thing. Because, boy, if that isn't... We've been talking gut checks all episode long. If that isn't the biggest gut check I've ever heard, I don't know what is.
Well, role swapping is brutal. And it's one thing for us to do it at home and be like, my hero got nerfed. Let me go from Zeratul to Cassia. They're both assassins, right? No! That is so wild, but we all do it. I'm very guilty of this. I get scared off my picks because people are angry, and I don't want to make them angry. I want to start the game jolly and have fun, but they show aggression towards my pick, and I go, well, that was just one game, but then it happens 3 games in a row. I'm going, I need to change everything about myself.
Yeah. The other side of that coin, though, is, and we're getting a little bit away from the question at hand, but I feel it's worth mentioning, sometimes the game forces that. Right? There's a point where the game changes the hero so much, you might as well go learn a different hero because the hero you've been playing doesn't resemble anything you learned over the last 6 months, year. Some of us for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's something you need to figure out. It's not always the case. Every single time that there is a change to a hero, that does not mean that it no longer resembles anything from the day before. But you should probably figure it out. And I probably moved off of Sonya too fast if we're going to go down this road.
Sure. But how would you have known to make such a drastic change in your playstyle? You reach the wall on Sonya, you go take a camp. That's what you did for 2 straight years. And that suddenly that's wrong. Like that's not something you get over in one night. And that's not, and same with our Malthael conversation, the impact of not casting a 50 mana spell every 15 seconds. Who can imagine that sort of thing coming?
Yeah.
Nothing is made more clear than when we look at the win rates of teams right now and who has a coach. Because that outside force saying, you're being emotional, stick to your guns, is helping so many teams out right now. And the ones without coaches are like us in Hero League. They see Reddit yelling at them, or maybe they look at HGC chat live, and I don't know why you do that to yourself, even if it's delayed half an hour. But they scare themselves off and end up doing wild change-ups, or end up in these weird kind of like old Gale Force where like everybody was flex because we're all creative specials, but nobody knew how to execute in that comp anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, master of none territory.
Yeah. And, lots of fluidity if you don't have someone outside of your own team saying, keep it normal. Do what you're best at.
I'm sorry. I'm starting to laugh a little bit. Just thinking of the mental image in my head of some unnamed pro player that after his night of HGC goes home, pulls up the Twitch VOD, opens up the chat room because that's now a thing. Well, it has been for a little while now. And it's just like, what is anyone saying about me? I feel so bad for that hypothetical person.
But on the flip side, it is tempting, like, no one's supposed to check their YouTube comments either, but you do it once in a while. I mean, you land a sweet mosh pit, you might go, ooh, what did I look like on Grubby's stream?
I'm guilty of that. That one time we got matched against J-How and won, I was like, I'm going to go watch J-How's VOD of that.
Yeah.
If we had lost, I probably wouldn't have watched it.
No, of course you would.
Oh, God. But, yeah, so, long and short of it, yes, HGC clearly influences it. Just not every single thing that happens in HGC is an applicable influence.
Right, and the bans are what we can immediately copy today because we're not seeing that gameplay. And when we see things like Kerrigan played really well, that doesn't impact us because we all kind of have an understanding of Kerrigan's abilities. If Maiev wins during the clash, we can expect a huge spree of Maieves because she's new and hot, and maybe that'll click for me. But you show me a winning Kerrigan, I'll go, nice job on the Kerrigan. No, I'm not touching that.
Yeah, but we're already seeing a Maiev spree.
Totally.
I don't think that'll change much. I think it's just going to reinforce a belief that Maiev is busted.
Yeah, I think the really fascinating ones might be what gets through the ban phase. Like, we might see a lot of Lunara come up. We might see some really interesting assassin play in this next big clash.
Oh, man, Lunara. Interesting. I don't believe, is what I'm saying. Don't believe in the Lunara right now. Not sure I want that reinforced at home. Anyways, final email for today. Carl the Llama writes in and says, good day, gents. Obviously, I've been a huge fan of the show for a while, but I am curious, what skins are missing from the game in your humble opinions? Let's do a little Into the Nexus / Heroes Forge skindalations. Personally, I believe that we are missing some very obvious, almost easy ones. Soldier 76 skin for Raynor, i.e. Widowmaker for Nova, just a complete replacement of the hero. What do you think of Soldier 76 for Raynor?
Sure, why not? I mean, they got that Blizzard World thing over in Overwatch at the moment.
Beautiful.
That's just Nova, but she's doing all the Widowmaker scenes. It's kind of odd.
It's, fair is fair. I'm down with Soldier 76 as long as he gets his Michael Jackson Thriller skin from the Halloween event, because the regular Soldier 76 skins looks like he's wearing pajamas, and it bothers me.
Pajamas.
I realize it's like a motorcycle jacket. I just think he is one of the, next to Lucio, one of the lamest designs in the game.
Yeah, but I figured that's how my dad would dress up if he was gonna go avenge justice.
Exactly, in his pajamas because he wants to be comfortable.
What about pajamas? It's like a leather jacket and like a tactical outfit.
It's all super matchy and it's blue and red. And I understand what it is, Kyle, but to me, from far away, it looks like you just bought matching flannel pajamas at Christmas that have 76 emblazoned across it.
Nah, I feel you. I used to have my favorite pair of cargo pants in middle school was green. And if I ever wore a green shirt with that, I looked like I was wearing a jumpsuit and looked stupid all day long.
Just start. You should have just crawled halfway under kids' cars in the parking lot and just look like you were working on cars because it would look like you were wearing a jumpsuit.
Well, actually, what I do is I get my sweater out, tie it around my waist like a champion to divide up the look.
You probably should have put it on to divide it up further. But yeah, sure.
A good point, but it was okay back then to tie your sweater. It's still really convenient, and I think we should bring it back.
Oh, I'm seeing it. It has been brought back. I'm surprised you're not seeing it in Seattle of all places.
We're currently wearing our sweaters. It's 44
that's a good point.
Up here, but in Florida, it was so effective in Florida because it's so damn cold in the AC, and then you go outside and it's burning hot.
Yeah, you need it. You absolutely do. He also thinks we need a Roadhog skin for Stitches. I triple, quadruple that. I want that horribly. Stitches is horrible. Can we get a Stitches reskin? Like, just redo him? He doesn't fit to me. He doesn't look like he belongs in Heroes of the Storm. And he's not painted to the same style as all of the other heroes.
Interesting. He's a big guy. And I know that means some texture real estate, but Asmodean... Oh, that's it. Asmodean is bigger and higher res because he has a mirror effect going on that we've learned about from the animators.
Right.
Stitches is asymmetrical.
He is asymmetrical.
Yeah,
I don't.
so
it's not
stretched.
It's not to me. It's not necessarily the fidelity. It's the style. He just looks weird. Like he looks, I don't know, crusty, and not in an intentionally crusty way because he's a decaying corpse. I don't know. It's just something about Stitches rubs me the wrong way.
I mean, I've always thought it's good to have skeletal minions because, they're all skeletons. Maybe they're a different height, but when you get down to a skeleton, it's a skeleton. But formalizing what an abomination looks like is a huge waste of effort for the Undercity. You have to find the same looking arm. Who has such thick? Well, actually, Uther has such thick arms. It's World of Warcraft after all. But
every human.
Why would you sign yourself up for that? That's too much work.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He wants a Durotan skin for Thrall. Yes, please.
Durotan? What does that make it?
Thrall's dad.
Oh. No, right.
Yeah, Thrall's dad. Right.
The Durotar is the place.
Yes, named after his father, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they named a lot of places after people.
Yeah. When you found your own city, I think you get to do that.
If you can do whatever you want.
Yep. And then he said, most importantly, I want a Patches the Pirate skin for Asmodean. Every time I crack a laser, I want to hear, I am in charge now.
Pirate Asmodean in general would be real good.
You're just now making me realize that Patches still says I'm in charge now, but he doesn't have charge, and that makes me sad.
He still pops out, though, right? When you play a...
He still pops out, but he doesn't have charge.
Okay, well, he's a 1/1, so, he's the manager.
I'm in middle management now.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, of all of these, I want to see a Patches pirate skin for Asmodean. I'm not really sure how that would work, but I want it. Oh, he should summon like South Sea deckhands as the regular summons, and then a South Sea captain would be his general, because it buffs all pirates on board. Oh, dude, now I really want it. I
mean, either you could fire a cannonball, or just throw a ghost ship would be fantastic.
Oh, I like the cannonball, because he comes out of a cannon in his summon animation if you pull him from your deck.
Who's the paladin card that has a cannon in his chest?
Oh, Burn Bristle.
Yeah. Can we do that with him? Like every time he goes to throw an orb, he just boom right there out of his chest.
Could be. I don't know. But what skins are at the top of your list? I think you know my answer.
I mean, one I've won forever, ever since seeing, I believe it was called Kubo and the Two Strings. Origami Genji. Papercraft Genji. Every time he mounts, he jumps in the air and folds into a paper airplane and kind of floats in the air. Has a little paper sword. Deflect turns into a star, one of those little balloons, or maybe a crane or something.
Oh, I want him to fold up into a unicorn, a la Blade Runner. Start galloping along.
There was a paper unicorn in Blade Runner?
The original Blade Runner, the dude who makes all the origami and like leaves it in Deckard's apartment, and then at the very end of the movie, Deckard looks down and there's just a paper unicorn on the ground.
But
Never mind. Maybe it's only in the definitive edition or whatever it is. I don't know.
I'm sure it's probably in all the editions, man. I've watched them all once, and I'm so confused still. Teardrops in the rain, and petting pigeons, and cartwheeling down hallways. That's what I remember.
Okay. Fine. Whatever the case is, that sounds very cool. I have and still want any cool skins for Brightwing. I'm still holding out hope that one day we will get a Mutalisk Brightwing and a Deathwing Brightwing.
Oh yeah, with the jaw.
She's a little dragon. How do we not have whelpling freaking skins? Like every dragon you can think of in freaking Warcraft, she should have a skin version of. Every single one of them.
I think that has to be one of those where they're like, whelplings. Ooh. We can make a character out of that someday. Not a whelpling himself, but maybe someone lays an egg, or like there's so much room that I wouldn't want to tread on. But at the same time, I'm still shocked at the Warhead Junction Braxis holdout assets, because that's multiple Terran and Zerg units used up. But I'm like, and saying, I've always felt this way though about Kerrigan's ult. Like, get rid of the Ultralisk so I can have the Torask as a hero. Like, I want hero Ultralisk unit. Or ulti the Ultralisk, right? If we're doing the Probius thing.
That's why I'm so glad we got Zagara before any of this stuff even ever hit, because I really wanted a queen.
Yeah.
And we got one. But yeah, they're not going to make a Deathwing, okay? That's not going to be a thing that they make. Give us a skin of it, please.
Well, and Mutawing with like a lamprey mouth going on and the crazy wings flapping.
I mean, you go one of two. You could really Mutalisk her up and kind of do a pretty different overall model, or you could just Zergify Brightwing's existing structure, which would also work.
Yeah.
I would be fine with either.
There's clearly some stats, though, that, you know, are influencing these, because Kael'thas, Sylvanas, your lunar skins are all kind of on heroes that already have tons of skins. But I know there's Illidan's out there that have got to collect them all, and they're paying the big bills.
Very true. Very, very true.
I tell you what I feel like we miss out the most on in Heroes of the Storm is set items. There are so many World of Warcraft, Diablo sets.
That was going to be my follow-up. Yeah, it felt like we were going down that path, right? When this first came out and they gave us like that, I can't remember what warrior tier, but Sonya has a warrior tier.
Yeah, holding the two weapons from that sort of Stratholme era. Vanilla.
I forget.
With the blade head, the can opener.
Yeah, it might even have been one of the dungeon sets, if I'm remembering. Vanilla is getting further and further from my brain bank. But yeah, more of that. Please, just throw a dart, dude. There's so many sweet tier sets in two fantasy-based Blizzard games.
Well, and like, where's my Power Rangers Uther? With the crystals sticking out of his shoulders.
Oh, I thought you meant like literal Power Rangers. Now I know it. You're talking like Burning Crusade era Paladin sets.
Oh yeah. And there is a quaintness too about that Sonya outfit you were talking, because it does mismatch the items. And I would love Gul'dan. Can you imagine Gul'dan in like BC Gul'dan? He's got turquoise pants and a purple dress top, because that for some reason that cloth top wasn't a robe and you just felt awful. And you got shoulders that are like kind of hovering about a foot off each go.
You just what would you call that? Hellfire Peninsula Gul'dan? Yeah. Like you got out, you killed about 6 boars, you found a bunch of stuff off of those boars that's somehow better than your raid gear, and none of it matches and you look like a clown.
Yeah, by the time you did that one, your first fly mission where you had to go drop the bombs, you looked outrageous. And I think we need to honor that.
I think we do too, Kyle. I would buy that tomorrow. I really would. That'd be so good. But there's also a lot of sweet sets, matching sets. Again, like Zool has this a little bit. You can get kind of a Necromancer set that's pretty similar to stuff you can get in the game. But they stop there. Like, why stop there? Give us 8 more different graphics that make me want to spend money.
Right? Or, things that they've established, particularly in Hearthstone, like Disco Medivh. That's something I really want. But
and his taunt as he pulls out a martini and smiles, and you get the little ding on his teeth.
Gives you the.
He gives you the Leo,
DiCaprio.
the DiCaprio. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I think we could also go one better. I think we could do the projection crawly machine from Star Wars, the first episode, I guess it was.
Projection crawly machine,
or the giant spider from. Wild
West.
Yeah. Like, do that, but with King Kobold, and make it Asmodan. And he summons kobolds and he rains kobolds, but he's sitting in a big chair that's walking with spider legs.
I like that. That'd be fun. Oh, there's so many. I want hedonism bot basically as many, and I want some big fat lazy jerk being carried around on a mobile throne.
Totally.
But they could just do that's how they could do Belial. It'll just be Belial in his human form, just reclining while his servants ferry him around.
My favorite skin, though, perhaps in the entire game, and I do love my infested Tychus, but I really enjoy the Krakenov Stukov because it adds a certain level of lore and new character. Like, that is actually a skeleton being worked by that octopus.
Yeah, their original skin ideas are really solid too. But it's Blizzard, and we can pull from all of the Blizzard universes. This is where I want them. This is where I just want my ridiculous crossovers. I want a Tychus skin where he's got a bunch of crap from Azeroth. Just mash them all together. Give me a Warcraft Overwatch hero. Pick one. I don't care.
Blaze could be a gnome in a machine.
Yeah. How does Nova not have like a Demon Hunter skin? You can see her with like the hood up, and she has a rifle crossbow.
Well, she's got the Amazon one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I guess I kind of did that with Amazon. It's just Amazon's kind of lame looking, and hoods are cool.
Yeah, the Butcher List. Like, there's a lot of examples they shown us of originally the Demon Tyrael outfit. They've done some really cool things, but it kind of looks like we're being driven by some sales stats as to what gets the fancies.
Maybe. Just maybe. Well, thank you for your emails, everyone. Keep them coming. itncast@gmail.com. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Before we go, huge thanks again to our patrons. If you like the show, if you want to support Kyle and myself, check out patreon.com/ITN. Everything helps, whether it's $1, $2, whatever it is. We really appreciate it. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Thank you both very much. If you want to get some Into the Nexus swag, we have shirts available at shirts.amove.tv. We also have custom etched glassware, pint glasses, things of the like over at etched.amove.tv. Really nice stuff. This is the same couple that makes our custom glasses for the Angriest Chicken open. And I know some of you have seen those, and they're very pretty, so check it out, etch.amove.tv. You can catch us live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv if you haven't been doing it already. Follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. And before we go, Kyle, where can everybody find you?
You can find me this week. I will advertise the YouTube series, youtube.com/Kyle Fergusson, where I'm still putting together weekly Learn to Play videos. This last week, I did Kael'thas. It's called Firelosophy, and it goes into a lot of different stuff. If you are casting or playing any mage right now in the game, definitely check it out. Zoning philosophy, and I really look forward to continuing those videos.
Nice. Folks, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. That's where you can follow me talking about all kinds of crap. And amove.tv for all of the other podcasts, including another one with Kyle and myself called Week Sauce, which is spelled like days of the week, and it is all one word. Again, Week Sauce. We do it every Monday. First thing in the morning for Kyle, first thing in the noon for me. And it's just our morning show. We get together and kind of talk about everything except Heroes of the Storm. So if you enjoyed some of our kind of off-topic shenanigans today, well, can I interest you in a full 90 minutes of that? Check that show out. I also have my solo show, The Angry Nerd. It is back. I've actually been keeping up with it and teaching you all how to make cocktails. I haven't decided what I'm going to make tomorrow, but I'm thinking maybe something with Campari. We'll figure it out when we get there. Whatever the case is, check it out, The Angry Nerd. Just me alone with my thoughts, which lately have been to make a tasty beverage. So it's going to do it for this week on Into the Nexus. Thank you all for listening, and until next week, good luck and have fun.
Take care.